Yo, what's going on? We are about a day away from the college football playoff beginning, and it'll begin with Alabama and Oklahoma. I made a video about that. It's right here, if you would like to go watch that for my full thoughts. But I did pick Oklahoma, spoiler alert. I think Oklahoma just has a better defense. I think Alabama looked terrible, honestly, in the SEC championship game. Obviously, they rushed for -3 yards. It's like, how can I pick them, especially against Oklahoma's defense? So I'm going to stick with Oklahoma. I think they'll have to drop back and pass a lot, meaning Alabama will. And Oklahoma is second in the nation in sack rate per drop back. They're getting a sack basically 1 every 10 dropbacks, so I don't think that spells good for Alabama. So moving on, we'll go to James Madison in Oregon. And I want to get on my soapbox for a minute because I hear a lot of people like, oh, this is a health issue. This is a safety problem. Like Alabama didn't play Chattanooga this year. Or like Oklahoma didn't play East Indiana State this year. Or, you know what I mean? Like these tiny little teams who didn't win a conference championship, who have worse athletic departments than James Madison, by the way, which produced Curt Cignetti and 37 of the other players that were on Indiana's playoff caliber team last year. So if those players are on James Madison last year, don't you think that they might be able to reload and find some more talent, considering their athletic department was able to do it the first time? No, y'all didn't think about that because y'all don't know who James is. Y'all don't know about James. I do. JMU is a great athletic school. Just because they're not Power 4 yet doesn't mean anything. That being said, though, I don't think they're going to beat Oregon. I mean, Oregon's way more talented. I think they're a better roster. I think they are just a better football team. I think they're going to have the dogs down the stretch to pull away. But I saw on the McAfee show that the spread was 21 points. That's kind of crazy. Personally, I think that's disgusting, honestly. But, with that being said, I'm still taking Oregon. I think James Madison will cover. But, I mean, there's just been so many, like, cupcake games this year that everyone didn't make a big fuss about. Like, people playing the Citadel, who doesn't even have full training regimens as much as everyone else because they're actually in the military. Like, I don't know where this mental disconnect is coming from especially ESPN personalities, but like big teams play small teams all the time, and the small teams don't have like an inordinate amount of injuries. Like, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now, and that leads me actually perfectly into this Tulane versus Ole Miss game. Because I think this is a perfect opportunity for a team to upset somebody. It really is. Think about it. Ole Miss early in the year, they played Wazoo at home and almost lost. And Wazoo was terrible this year. And that was with Ole Miss having their head coach, having their vibes intact, all that other stuff. No distractions, no time off and potential rust or whatever, or changing of how everything's working because your head coach is gone. I don't like this for Ole Miss. I know everyone's like, oh, Ole Miss is going to play with some fire. I think Ole Miss is going to play like a kicked dog. That's what I think they're going to play like. I could be wrong. I'll happily eat my words if I'm wrong. I think Tulane is going to put everybody on notice. Like, hey man, we are here to play. So with that being said, I'm taking Tulane. One thing people don't understand is Chambliss was not the starter to begin the year either. Austin Simmons was. And then Chambliss came in and took over his job. And Chambliss was starting again when they lost, or almost lost, to Wazoo at home. If they're going to lose to Wazoo, who traveled all the way across the country and was terrible at home, don't you think they could lose to Tulane, who travels like maybe 100 miles? Don't you think that maybe Tulane might beat them? Or has a chance? I mean, I'm going to get off my soapbox. This is going to be one of those picks where maybe somebody says something like after the fact. But look, would it not be boring if I just went, oh, Oregon, Ole Miss? Like, that's what everyone's doing. Like, I see a potential way for Tulane to win this game. I see a potential weakness in Ole Miss. I'd be stupid not to pick them. That's how I feel. So, with that being said, let's move on. We got Miami versus Texas A&M, which I feel like is probably the wildest matchup. This could go any way. This could be a Carson Beck masterclass where he throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, or it could be a Carson Beck disaster class where he throws for 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, gets strip sacked, cries. You know, it could be one of those games. Or it could be like Texas A&M walking out first half against South Carolina looking like a high school team, and then they come out and make Shane Beamer look like the biggest idiot alive because he was hyping up the crowd at halftime like they had won anything. So it could be either one. With that being said, who has a bigger history of crapping themselves when it matters? Miami. I'm not taking Miami. In a big game, I promise you, hell will freeze over before I pick the U. Like, it's so bad. Like, I think there's like a generational curse been placed in Miami to where you have a big game coming up and you just poop your pants for hours on end, because that's what it looks like when they play football in a meaningful game. Moving on, I'd like to talk about Oregon and Texas Tech. Like you heard me say, man, I'm not that sold on Oregon. Their biggest win is what? Penn State, with a now fired head coach and a quarterback who is out for the year. That's not a very good resume. You know what I mean? And like, okay, well, they played Indiana close. Yeah, when Indiana had to fly halfway across the whole country, and then honestly made Oregon's offense look neutered out there. They look awful. And I like the Ducks. I'm not trying to hate on the Ducks. Like, quack, quack. I'm on quack for real. Like, I'm just saying, I don't think that Oregon has proven it to me at this point. Not that they can't do it, but I think if I've got to put money on somebody, I want to do Texas Tech. But as those words were leaving my mouth, I thought about it again, and I just had the thought of Mateo Uyunglele just ripping through the offensive line and putting Baron Morton on the ground, man. It's so hard for me not to. I'm going to go Oregon. I'm on quack. I'm on quack for real. All right, moving on. We got Indiana and Oklahoma. Honestly, I said this about Alabama and Oklahoma in that other video. By the way, it's right here if you want to watch that. But I think that this game will be incredibly low scoring if it gets here. Both of these defenses are insane, highly talented. I think Mendoza has been fortunate. Also, you know, he's talented. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, except we need to acknowledge the fact that Curtis Rourke basically had the same year last year. So, you know what I mean? Am I wrong for saying that? Like, am I wrong for acknowledging the fact that Curt Cignetti might just be the greatest coach alive? I don't know. It's hard for me to bet against him. It really is. Like, I'm thinking about it, and he just got that aura right now where it's like, I think he's got his team where it needs to be. I think even with the break of like the gap in between games because of the bye, basically 3.5 weeks, by the way, in between Big Ten championship and now, I don't know if that'll matter. I don't think John Mateer is going to be able to move the ball against Indiana. And I'm more confident in Mendoza, obviously, than I am in Mateer. So I think I'm just going to take Indiana. Now we've got Tulane versus Georgia. If Tulane gets here, genuinely, they did their job. Like, I think everyone for the rest of time would shut up about, oh, lower teams don't deserve to be in there, because lower teams never beat bigger teams in football, even though we literally watch it happen to Miami every year. every single year. We watch it happen to Notre Dame every year. What do? They lose to Eastern Illinois or Northwestern or some other piece of shit school. Okay? No offense to those schools, but you know what I mean. I'm sick of it. So if Tulane goes in and beats Ole Miss, which I'm really pulling for, hell yeah. With that being said, you ain't beating Georgia. I'm sorry, you gone, brother. That's gonna be a 63-6 type of game. Just because Georgia, I genuinely believe Georgia is like that this year. Well, I'll take it all back. I don't think they beat them 60-something. That's not this Georgia team's kind of vibe, man. They're more of like a 27 to 30 points. They beat them like 30-6 or 30-13. I'll take that. But I think Georgia is a much, much better team than Ole Miss. Georgia doesn't have turnover at the head coach position, doesn't have their offensive coordinator serving double duty. There's just so many things that make me question Ole Miss, and then there's not many things that make me question Georgia besides maybe that loss at Alabama. But again, that was how long ago now? So my point being, Georgia's going to beat Tulane. Moving on now, we've got Ohio State and Texas A&M. I genuinely think that this could be closer than everyone thinks. I think the Big Ten Championship shows some potential chinks in Ohio State's armor. I think there may be a chance for Texas A&M to find them vulnerable. But again, like I was saying about Texas A&M, it really is a tale of two different teams. Like, they'll have one half where they're just on fire, and then they'll have another half that look terrible. Or it'll be one quarter and then the next, and then they're on and then they're off. If they can put together a cohesive game where they play like they did in that second half against South Carolina, where they play like they did against Notre Dame, offensively at least, then I really like their chances to beat Ohio State. Am I going to predict them to beat Ohio State? Absolutely not. Okay? No, I'm not. But I will absolutely respect their chances to beat them if they make it to that game, but I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, and that brings us to our semifinal games. We've got a rematch here, Oregon and Indiana. This game happened earlier in the year in Autzen. Indiana went in there, like I said, flying halfway across the country and made Oregon's offense look really, really boring, which takes a lot considering how much speed and power and all of the different adjectives that they have on that side of the ball. It just made them look pedestrian. And I think that point in the year, we didn't really understand what we were seeing. We thought, oh, well, maybe Oregon's just not that good. Well, it turns out Indiana's just that good. Indiana only gave up 10 points to Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship game. I don't know that there's been very many games in the last 5 years that Ohio State has had under like 2 touchdowns in a game, right? Like maybe some of the games against Michigan, but I don't know. I was really taken aback. I was really impressed. Knocked a lot of words out of my head, as you can tell, and I don't see any reason to think differently here. Maybe throughout the playoff, Indiana will change my mind. Maybe they won't look as good. But from what we've seen so far, they keep tossing teams in the wood chipper. And then Ohio State, they just bested them because of a missed field goal. But, it's football. That's how it goes. And that brings us to Georgia-Ohio State. I think this will be another great game. This will be a big-time slugfest on the defensive side, or both defensive sides of the ball. Ohio State's defense is star-studded. They got Caden Curry. They got Arvell Reese. All kinds of talent. Wherever you look. Caleb Downs. I'm remiss for not mentioning him first. But crazy talent on that side of the ball. Really every side of the ball. They got the best player in college football, Jeremiah Smith. If you can't tell, I'm picking Ohio State. I think Georgia has a great chance. I like Gunnar Stockton. I like how he's able to move. Like he's a very tough quarterback. I like that Superman touchdown he had earlier in the year. That was really, really cool. But I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to score with Ohio State. I don't know that this game's necessarily going to be a shootout per se, but I could see Ohio State getting to like 27 up to 30-ish maybe. And I don't know if Georgia's been capable of doing that against top-level competition if you look throughout their games. I mean, even their game against Auburn, who I have a lot of respect for how Auburn played football this year, not necessarily their record, but if you watch their games, their defense, tough. And Georgia, they didn't put up a whole bunch of points on them. They didn't look real convincing. And I think Ohio State is just much more convincing. It's much easier to pick them. So I'll do so. And now we've got a rematch of the Big Ten championship game in the national championship. This is Greg Sankey's worst nightmare. He is currently praying that Ole Miss and Georgia somehow end up on different sides of the bracket, and Alabama and Oklahoma don't play each other first. Unfortunately for him, that's not how reality is. And I think the reality is that Indiana and Ohio State are the best two teams in college football. I think we've seen that all year. I think we watched that in the Big Ten championship game. I think it was a preview of what we're going to see here. And hopefully this one will live up to the hype as much as the last one did. Although I would maybe prefer to see some more fireworks, especially when you've got such talented offensive players on both sides. I just want some time for both sides of the ball to shine. With that being said, though, I'm going to bet on the best player. I'm going to bet on the best roster. I'm going to bet on, honestly, in my opinion, the best quarterback. Hot take, I think Julian Sayin is a better quarterback right now than Fernando Mendoza. I just think that Mendoza has been more successful. I mean, some people won't make that distinction. I'm willing to say that this guy might be better, might be more suited, versus this guy has just had the success, had the numbers. Again, not to hate, not to be difficult. I just think Sayin is better. I think Jeremiah Smith's the best player on the field. I think Ryan Day has been there, done that. And while Cignetti does win, I've Googled him, he doesn't win national championships. And Ryan Day proved last year that he can. And I think their roster is going to back that up this year. So I'll pick Ohio State. I've got my tiebreaker, 27-21. I'm going to stick with it. And that's my bracket. As much as I hate to say it, I think Ohio State's going to win this year. Hopefully my Tigers are back in there next year and we'll have something to say about it. But with that being said, thank y'all for watching. And I hope y'all enjoy the college football playoff. I know I will. I'll be watching on vacation. And I'll catch you guys later.